Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Hello, sunshines.
You look so like you're just got out of bed.
I did.
That's the beauty of not having hair. You just don't know if we don't get no.
What are you trying to say?
I
Oh,
think it looks nice and
Good
wavy.
morning.
good
Morning.
morning.
Oh,
All right. Well, thank you all for joining us yesterday. We really appreciate it. I really appreciate the interaction we had yesterday. I thought it was good. Yeah, and it ended up being an interesting day for sure. And I think we're going to possibly see another interesting day today. So, Mark, let's get into it.
Okay.
What you got?
Well, good morning, everyone. Today is Tuesday, March 4th, 2025. Welcome to the Morning Edge, presented by Platinum Channel, providing a window into the trading day. Just a reminder, this information is for educational purposes only, is not financial advice or a recommendation to buy or sell a stock. So in yesterday's trading session, Wall Street's three main equity benchmarks ended in the red quite a bit. The Dow Jones closed down 649 points, S&P down 104, while the Nasdaq closed down 497 points. There was a lot of news a little bit yesterday, a lot of manufacturing news, and then we had the tariffs were going to kick in last night at midnight. I think the most important thing that I saw that didn't get much play was the Atlanta Fed's GDP Now model, and they revised it. They revised it last Friday, okay, but they revised it again yesterday, and it slipped deeper into the red Monday, and it estimated that Q1 GDP will sink 2.8% on a seasonally adjusted annual rate from the 1.5% that it estimated last Friday. So the nowcast factored in Monday's release of the February ISM, which is the manufacturing survey, which brought its estimate of consumer spending down to zero. Okay, so they're saying consumers are basically going to go down to zero. And if you remember the credit report last week, you saw people were saving more of their money and spending less. So that kind of correlates with that. And private fixed investment growth to 0.1% from 3.5% previously. So you're seeing part of that. What we're seeing is the economy slowing down. I think if you look at GDP, and we've talked about GDP a lot, about how it's calculated. A lot of it was government jobs and spending, and it was also uh, uh, employment based on data from government jobs and also part-time workers and immigration workers. So that is all changing now with the new administration. So we're starting to see that kind of go through the economic reports. This morning futures, I was looking at my watch list screens, and they're pretty red. Okay, wavering after yesterday's sell-off, triggered by stagflation fears and tariff jitters. We don't have any real economic data releases today, so that's good. We don't have to worry about waiting for 10:30 for some XYZ report to come out and knock us off again. We're going to have some high-profile companies report today: CrowdStrike, AutoZone, and retailing Target, Ross, and Best Buy, which are always interesting to see how the retail customers are doing. So anyway, that's what I got as far as uh, uh, just really quick news. I do want to go over and look at what's happening from my point of view. Uh, I can share here, which I can. So we've talked about it. I don't know how many of you have been on our platinum calls, or if you're brand new to all this, and so I'll try to back up a little bit. That the Mag 7 stocks, which are Nvidia, Meta, Google, blah blah blah, uh, have been representing for the last several years over 35% of the total market cap of the S&P and about 50% of the of the Nasdaq 100. So you can see what's happening with these stocks when they represent such a high amount. I think Nvidia is 5 to 6% of the S&P. Okay, and there's 500 stocks in there. I mean, this is 6% of that. You can see we've come up and been going sideways on a lot of these, hit resistance, and now it's just been pretty much down. And this is our second day of closing down below the 200. And so right on the Bollinger Band for NVIDIA, and our oscillators still look bad. So pretty steep 9 and 20 coming down. We'll see if it can come back and retest. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it may retest and get going down. But when you see stocks like NVIDIA, and then, you go to, this is probably one of the better ones, that's been out there. Meta is still, bouncing off the 50 now, but we're still seeing downward trending of Meta, and the oscillators are off too. So, if you can get past that 50, it's going to be an interesting ride down. But this has been the best one of the 7. Move that up a little bit. You can see right here, it's hitting right on resistance, or where the sell orders are. If we look at Microsoft, this one, again, this represents 30%. Okay. Microsoft's been in the red underneath the 200 for a long time. You can see it's even the resistance level has even moved down significantly on Microsoft, where it's hit several times, and then it's just gone down. We're following the Bollinger down, and the oscillators look terrible. Luckily for 2 days, we've hit the intermediate support level. We'll see if it can hold here and bounce back up for Microsoft, or it gets past that. This is a pretty tough level to get past. So I'm going to be watching this one, because if I can get, if we get to a point where it can get above this 9, then we're going to have a stock trading under the 200. We'll have to watch it and see if we might be able to make a quick swing on Microsoft. But right now, certainly not. Apple. Oops, hold on. APL. Apple again, doing fairly well on Apple, just hitting resistance the last couple of days. We'll see what happens today, but the oscillators aren't looking good on Apple. We'll see how long it can go, but again, it's over the 200. It's still trading sideways. So anything I trade in right now, not for me, because I have trading guidelines. You guys can go see on the Discord. It does not meet those guidelines at this point. Tesla's come down. Okay, and it's hit 3 times on the 200. 200 is either a really strong level of resistance or a strong level of support, depending on where you're at. So far, support's holding. We've got Bollinger still going down, a little bit of a bump on the stochastic, but still not looking good on the MACD. And then we've got these sell orders sitting right here above us at 305.32. So again, I'm not looking for anything yet on Tesla. So again, another, Mag 7 pulling down the rest of the market. Google, this one went into basically a bearish market under the 200. We've been down here now for 4 days. Nothing to see it on Google either. And then of course, Amazon. Again, Amazon's heading straight down just like everybody else. And when you see what it does to the markets in general, since it's 30%, you're seeing the SPY doing the same thing, still above the 200, which is okay still, but we're still seeing the oscillators not looking good. You'll find some support at the 200. Again, there's 500 in this particular index. The Qs are 100, and you can see we're a little different on the Qs. We're getting closer to that 200 because these 7 stocks represent about 50% of the market cap on these Qs. So it's rolling down. The Dow is a little different. The Dow is still down, hanging around the 50, but the Dow only has 30 stocks, older stocks, but it's still affected by what's going on. So if you're trying to find some help in the small caps, the IWM, that's gone down the toilet also underneath the 200 for several days and still following this Bollinger Band down. So, that's for the market in general, that's not good. Okay. Because, they always say a tide going out lowers all boats, a tide coming in raises all boats. There are places where we can find, and, we have several lists out there. And one of the lists is the momentum chart. We had 16 stocks on that chart. And 3 of those, like I said, all of a sudden yesterday the resistance level came on. You can see it came up and hit. So for me, I wouldn't be interested in this because it's hard to get past this level from my trading standpoint. So for O'Reilly, I would be done with O'Reilly. Here's the other one, AON. Resistance came on. You see, it could go up, and hit where the buy sell or the sell orders are, but usually when it hits this line, 1, 2, 3, has a little tough trouble with the momentum. Again, I would be out of AON if I was in it. And AIG is the third one that came up. And yesterday, resistance came on. You can see what happens. And we'll see what happens. The oscillators still look good. It's a tough line to get by. So that's 3 out of 16. The rest of them still look pretty good, and if you go and you can see them basically on our list that we have on the Discord. Here's Abby B, still rolling along. AEE, you still have resistance up here where the sell orders are. I would expect if we get a big red day today, you're going to see a lot more of these momentum stocks with a resistance level put on. Here's NI. Okay, so even with red days, you still find momentum stocks, but you got to be really careful with these. When that resistance comes on, it's probably a good signal to probably get out. The ones that I look at that meet mostly my trading guidelines, Berkshire. Okay, it's been heading up. It's been on this upper Bollinger Band. We're seeing it's kind of a flattening of the MACD. We talk about stops all the time. So if your cost basis is at 473 change and you're at 510, you want to put in a stop loss somewhere where it might hit. Here's your next level of support. You're still, if you hit that, again, we've hit it before, so it may go down. A lot of times people will put a stop below it just in case it hits it and goes back up, so you don't get stopped out. You do trailing stops, you can do a lot, but this one's been a good one, but always protect yourself on the bottom side. And then the other one has been doing fairly well considering the market. Oops, sorry guys. And that's PAYC. Vista really slow upward going. You can see between the 9 and the upper Bollinger. Now we're starting to find some resistance in here where the sell orders are. If it's a red day, if it hits back up there again, that would be a good exit point for me, considering what my risk management plan is and considering I'm seeing some rollovers a little on the oscillators. So that's just a really quick view of some of the stocks that we're looking at. So be careful today. It's going to be really bumpy and red, I think. So we'll see. That's sorry it took so long, guys, but we got a lot on the docket out there today. So Trent, back to you.
So I just want to share one thing with y'all, and that is the volatility index. Can you guys see this?
Yep.
Okay, so volatility index represents the volatility in the S&P 500, and it can be very insightful. And so there are 3 levels of the volatility index to keep an eye on, and I think also can be a very strong indicator from a broad point of view of when things are bullish, when things are not, and when things are really bad. And so we have 3 areas. We have the investable bucket. And typically when the VIX is below roughly 18, 19, below that, markets in particular, the S&P 500 is more bullish. There's more upside movement in the S&P, and pretty much that big, as Mark has pointed out, the Mag 7, which represent 35% of the movement at present time. You get in above 18, between 27, and you get into what I call the chop bucket. This is when volatility moves around a lot and people start to anticipate, oh, it's going to go, volatility is going to suppress or go back down, and they end up getting basically whipshawed in a sense. And so this is a very cautionary environment. And then 27 and above, this is what I call the F bucket. This is where recessions happen, where markets spike. As you can see here, I'm going to go out to a weekly chart here. You can see when we get, this was back in August, we had a big spike, very big spike in the VIX. You get into 2020, 2020 or 22, we saw a lot of volatility in the market during these different weeks. And of course, February of 2020, we saw volatility spike and we saw the S&P sell off. And you can go through really sort of history and see where things get real choppy. What if you're a long only investor, what you want is to have the VIX below 18, and that's when you see the S&P go up and the underlying stocks typically go up. But once you get in this chop bucket, this becomes questionable. Now there's opportunity there if you're willing to take the risk to do so. When you get up into this 20 near 27, today we're at the 24 mark. And there's a very good possibility we will see it start to reside back down towards the investable bucket. And those can be great opportunities to pick up stocks at the bottom, like for instance, the Mag 7. But take into account the headline news that's driving a lot of this was tariffs, the Ukraine talks, those kind of things. You got to take that into account. You just can't focus on one indicator to determine what you're doing because there are other variables. But I think I use this quite a bit as a indicator of where volatility is going. Remember the options market, which has become an enormous market over the last 5 years with the introduction of 0 days to expiration options. Volatility is an option trader's friend. They want to see volatility because it moves option contracts up and down very drastically. So as we are in this chop bucket phase, this is a cautionary sign to me. If you're a long only investor, this is when you don't start going, hey, I'm going to start buying at the bottom, because we honestly, in this environment, we don't know if we're in a bottoming period. We could easily spike into the F bucket, and that could easily be sizable losses. So be careful here. Once we see things recede back into the investable bucket, that's when there's a very good opportunity to possibly pick up stocks at a cheap price and be able to have opportunity for upward movement, both on a short-term but also on a long-term basis. So that I wanted to share that because I think this is going to become more and more in the next 30 days or so, more and more important, especially with the presidential administration's approach to getting things to reset and getting prices to more reasonable prices, and also instilling confidence back into government assets as well. So I wanted to share that with you. So we'll open it up to the floor here. Any questions, any suggestions, any ideas today as we proceed into this, I believe, volatile trading day?
Brent, Mark, anybody?
Yeah.
Does anybody have any ideas then, with the market being like it is, of flat out staying out of the market, or trading slightly, or picking stocks that we know have been trending, getting in,
But
or
for
picking
me,
a few? I have a couple that I'd like you to look at that I'm thinking
sure,
about.
sure. I mean, there's always an opportunity somewhere, as you know, Scott. But in times like what we're seeing, where the tide's going out, there are less and less opportunities, even though there are. And you've got to probably really pick it up on your risk management strategy, and really watch them a lot closer, because a good stock can get caught up in all this and dump too, and for no reason. So you just need to be protected on the downside, which is why we use stops and things as such. And for me, I have my long-term investments that I maintain. Okay, but in my trading account today, I'm trading Berkshire, PAYC, and if I'm out, I'm out. Okay. Today is also Tuesday, so I have a bunch of 30-day treasury bills or CDs coming due, so I'm going to reevaluate. And I'll probably, depending on what the yield is, I'm probably going to reinvest those for another 30 because mine rotate. So every Tuesday I have money coming through. So I don't see anything for me investable right now to go and invest in. There are some trades out there, obviously, depending on your risk management. So what do you got that you're looking at, Scott?
GMRE.
GMRE?
Can you share
Okay.
your screen?
Yep. Global Medical REIT. Okay. So one of the first things I see, if you watch right here in the volume area, as I sweep across, is the volume is, I like 500,000 normally on average. So it's a lower volume. Okay. So that's just to know what it is. You've had some earnings. I don't know what those are. Let me take a look. 2 cents per share. Okay. So it gapped up. Now you've hit basically the 200. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, you're at 908 right now. You've got a level of resistance at 925, which is a strict level for me. So you've got from 8 cents to 25 cents on the upside. It'll be interesting to see if this retraces back down below the 200 today. You know, as it's hard to get above that, or if it can stay up, you know, open up, bounce down and keep going. But your upside risk is up to 925 in my book. So would have been nice right back in this area.
Yeah.
You know, it would have, could have, should have, Scott. You know how that goes. What else you got?
You know what's nice about that one? It's the 9, the 20, and the 50's making a decision right now. That's pretty incredible given the market.
It
Yeah.
probably pays a sizable dividend as well. Does it, Scott?
I don't know what the dividend is.
See if I can look it up.
Here, right here. 21 cents. So that's pretty good on a $7 stock. So
if you're
when
looking,
it looks like dividend might be coming up at some point here, but we'll see. But again, it's these red, the 200 is a pretty good level of support and resistance. And we'll see if it can continue. We're 2 outside the Bollinger Band, which you only trade 5%, and you're really coming close to resistance up here. So, you know, for me, I wouldn't be getting in this one today. Me personally.
Well, I like the fact that the Bollinger Bands are expanding.
Yeah,
That
but
would drew some interest.
you've got
But I did not see, truthfully, I did not see the 200 on there.
Yeah,
until you
right here.
highlighted it.
and right here is, you know, these are always tough to get through for me. Maybe everyone
Yeah.
else has a different idea, but and again, the volume yesterday after earnings was 1.3 million. The day before it's 375,000. So I'm anticipating you're going to see all these people that jumped in. Some of these people are going to get out, you know, and take their money. I don't know when the next dividend is, but that'll also bring your price down by 21 cents if they do a 21-cent dividend. Again, I don't know.
it looks like it's the average yield is right around 9.25%.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty healthy. REITs are that's one, you know, one thing you may be seeing here is a rotation to value, and value typically has a dividend attachment to it. So REITs are typically one of those you see in value, you know, markets that are shifting more towards value versus growth.
Right.
So this could be one of those.
You can see
Who's got their mic on? Is it
Yeah,
someone?
I got it.
So you can see when you have dividends, you'll see that stock price will go down because it'll go down by the dividend amount. Then it can build back up. You see that a lot uh, on these dividend payers. So, people use these for income. You can swing trade them, but just remember the dividend on something that has a 9% dividend can affect, especially on a $7 stock, if it goes down 21 cents, depending on what your entry price is, that could be significant to your profit or loss.
Correct.
What else you got, Scott?
The other one was SNY. I wasn't as favorable on this one, but it looked interesting.
Yeah, it had a nice, look at this. That's a nice gap. Definitely. Outside of the Bollinger Band. So again, we are at 56.52. You'll have some resistance. Your resistance and your sell levels are very close here. So to get through that with two levels that close, that's like having, a front line of the defense and your linebackers right behind them. Okay, so to try to run through that, it's going to be a little tough. 57.53, and you're sitting at 56.52, so you got about $1 on the upside. You know how these are, Scott. They trade outside 5% of the time, so you may see it try to move back in. Also, it's an ADR, so it's outside the country. It must be a bank of somewhere outside of the country.
Did not know that.
Yeah,
The
ADR.
ADR tells you that?
ADR, yeah, account depository receipts. So that always tells you that you're trading with a house that's trading with the actual stock, basically, is what it is.
Good to know. Thank you.
One I'm doing some research on is RRC. It's more of a long-term play on the data center development side of things. They are a low-cost leader in natural gas um, manufacturing or drilling. And with all the data center development side of things, this is something I'm taking a look at and digging in some research on. So just more of a long-term play than it is a swing trading play.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Paul, what do you got? You always have something in your back pocket.
Well, well, overall, I'm seeing best strength in insurance right now. So I got to, there's a bunch of insurance companies that I don't want to beat through them. Also, there's a few healthcares.
Yeah. I'm starting to see healthcare. So XO. Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's the healthcare sector. You can see it's had a nice bump and stayed above the 200. So yeah, healthcare would be a nice area to go look at. We looked at, I think we've talked about some already, like Abbott, we talked about yesterday.
Yeah, ABT, Aviv. There's another one I'm looking at, GILD.
Yeah, we had that on the list for Monday.
You
But again, watch for the resistance. This is where sell orders are. If you are getting in, you're thinking of trading, you're trading. I mean, technically it'd have been nicer to get in back here, but here's where we are. So it's really up to what you think it is, where it's going to go, how much more juice it has to the top. We don't have a resistance level defined other than this one. So potentially it could go up. But we go back to risk reward on stocks like this. So especially in a situation where we are right now with the markets. But again, these are momentum stocks, and go with the flow until you don't anymore.
Right. There's a few utilities too.
Yeah, we had those like AEE.
Yeah.
Yeah, and NI. Same kind of thing.
Oh yeah, and that's a great stock.
These are on our momentum list. Anything else outside of that momentum list that I don't have?
There's a company, ERJ and Embracer.
This was a apartment REIT that's so this is under real estate, this MAA, sorry.
Ooh, no, that
What
looks
else,
nice though.
what else did you, yeah, MAA, so you might want to, MAA, just in real estate, which, is not going to, usually won't do good if rates are going up, but this is one that was it's on our momentum list, so just take a look at it. And what'd you have again? Sorry, Paul.
Oh, on the front news of the journal, in the journal today, they talk about, that remember I mentioned yesterday, Europe's trying to beef up their defense department.
Right.
So
Mhm.
ERJ, I believe, is an American company that sells product to Europe as well as other countries.
I think it's it's an ADR, so it's trades overseas and then
Okay,
somewhere. Yeah,
so it's
but
in that sector.
yep,
So you know what I mean?
defense.
So yeah.
I think
What's that?
Embraer makes commercial airplanes. We just had one that went down in Toronto. Flipped
This
on
company?
its back.
This company?
It could be. It's a Canadian company.
Yeah,
All right. Well, yeah.
but like
Let's
you
let
said, we talked about defense a little bit last week, and there's some that are under the 200, like LHX has a nice run under the 200. This is defense. L3 Harris, GD. I used to work at GD a long time ago. Looks like the same chart. It's under the 200. These have some room to roll if you like it. The oscillators look good. You talked about RTX yesterday, which is of course Raytheon. It'll let me go here. There we go. Raytheon's coming right up, hitting where some sell orders are. But that's a nice bump. Look at that.
I know. It's a beautiful
Yeah.
one.
Hey, Mark, Peeman had a question.
Okay.
I just had a
Is he
question
still
for
here?
Trent. And
Yes,
my
sir.
question is, when you're trading NVIDIA short-term options,
Yes,
how
sir.
far out do you buy the option for generally?
So yesterday, Friday, I bought the March 28 115 puts. Um, I was underwater pre-market by about 15%, which I was comfortable with, but my indication was that it was going to go lower for the day. And so I held on to it. I cashed out above 50% on it. And looking at where the market's where Nvidia is gonna open up today, I could have made a lot more. I could have made a lot more before, after I cashed out, but I want to take profits. So I'm looking out. I want to buy myself some time. So I don't like, for instance, I would not be buying today any March 7th options because the time decay and the volatility decay is just going to ramp up today through Friday. The 14th would be a consideration, but I'm thinking more out at the end of the month. The 28th look like a high concentration and a big weekly expiration as we are in this month. But I'm trying to go out. I want to buy myself some time because if I'm wrong, I want to have some opportunity to recover that. But also, if it's not working, I'm just going to dump it and get out because I'm not risking an enormous amount of capital, but the return is pretty sizable. So you just got to play. I like time on my side. I'm actually, if we do get a bump in, if we do get a dead count bounce, we get a move back higher in the next couple days on NVIDIA, I would be looking more into possibly April and May. Put contracts and I try to buy them at the money if I can, so I can get more what they call delta, which means more push
Right.
in the movement kind of thing. So that's what I'm looking at right now. Right now it's, I NVIDIA is supposed to open up right around 110.51, but I think it'll make a charge back towards that 115 mark, 120 mark today. At some point.
There was some news out this morning that I caught, and it has to do with Singapore. selling chips, NVIDIA chips to China, and that they were going to really hammer down on Singapore and that whole area and maybe even tighten up. So that I think that's why you're seeing pre-market where it's
Yeah.
at. So just keep an eye on that
Yeah.
news, especially these days.
Yeah, I mean, who didn't think they were not selling to China in some form or fashion, or somebody was. I
Yeah.
mean, it's about money, making money. So yeah, I mean, this is I think on a very short-term basis, this is you're gonna see a bounce today, especially with that news and all those trades coming in pre-market. The first half hour of this market of Nvidia's day today, and really the Mag 7 in general, is going to be volatile. And I think you're going to see a lot of downside pressure, but I think you'll see the institutions come back in after 9 Central and start pushing it, buying up, accumulating, pushing it higher into the 10 o'clock time frame, 10, 11, lunchtime kind of thing. So there could be opportunity on this very short-term basis. So does that help?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
I put this up. This is just Bitcoin, and we've had another dump down. Look at those candles, man. But it came back down right to the 200 again. So this is a good line of support until it's not. But I'm worried about these Bollinger Bands, and we'll see. It can go down, but if it gets past that 200, we could sink a little more on this one for sure. But it has to get down, retest it, and then head down again. But it didn't do it here, and we'll just see what happens. And remember, if you're into crypto, there's a big crypto summit Friday, so there'll probably be a lot of news coming out at the White House. So just keep that in the back of your mind too. So anyway,
What
for
is it
those
at? What's it at right now?
83.2, and my line in the sand was the red 200, which is 82.6. But
Yeah.
ish 82.6 ish. You can see here on this candle here, the screen when we went down to 78.1 before it
Yeah.
came back up. So very volatile. But again, this red line which is the 200-day moving average, simple moving average, has been a good level of support. But if it crashes through that and can't get above it, then it's going to be a really good level of resistance. So just be careful.
Yeah.
Did you
Hey,
catch
Mark.
anything
All right,
in the
guys.
news? Did
What's
you catch
that?
anything did you catch anything in the news regarding the Bitcoin crowd being unhappy with the way it's being accepted by the government?
Yeah, I
You know,
did.
what is that? Yeah.
Well, the Bitcoin people, they just want all Bitcoin in the reserve. They wanted to call it the Bitcoin reserve because in their mind, and a lot of them are maximalists, and in their mind, there's only 21 million. There are no CEOs of it. It's a store of value, blah, blah, blah. And then they look at, Cardano or XRP or the others that are supposed to, be in there. And those all have CEOs and they're like businesses. And they can make as many as they want and this and that. And so they are unhappy, but most Bitcoin people are unhappy most of the time if it's not Bitcoin only, but they should be happy because they're talking about a reserve, and a majority of from what I understand and read will be Bitcoin, and the rest will be Cardano and XRP, and I forget what is it, Solana maybe, I don't know, I can't remember.
Yeah.
It'll all work itself out, but yeah, no one's ever happy, Paul. It's so this guy's happy. I live here with a bunch of farmers. My farmers are never happy. Oh, it doesn't rain enough. Then it rains. Oh, it rained too much. They're never happy. So they're like Bitcoiners. But the way I look at it,
Hey,
Paul,
Mark.
if they're talking about it, that's a good thing. It's publicity. Anyway,
Hey,
yeah.
Mark, real quick. Bob has a question, and then Janet had a question about Taiwan
Okay.
Semiconductor.
Okay.
Go ahead, Bob.
Hey, the only I have two or three, but I'm not going to do it now. But I've got just one. Are you still maintaining high yield?
That'd be
Me?
Trent.
No, I'm talking to Mark.
What do you mean high yield? So I know what to.
High yield. Those were the the ones that doing covered calls mostly.
Oh yeah, I still have the MicroStrategy. Yeah, I still do those.
So even though there's been a movement down, you're not in any concern.
No, because I had to when I first told you about that. You have to get in your mind. I'm spending $5,000. It could go up and down, but I'm doing it for the income on this particular account. So
All right.
but you're right, Bob. It has gone down, in your principal, but you're still getting monthly income off that if you're an income investor. So I just have one small account over there that just sits there and turns out monthly income, every week.
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, no problem.
So Janet's question was anything on Taiwan Semiconductor ADR. I think Taiwan Semiconductor is not an ADR in the United States, correct?
We'll find out here in a minute.
No.
No, it's not.
So
No, it is. Yes, it is. It's an ADR.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, ADR.
It's a foreign company. It's in Taiwan. It's a major
Yep.
semiconductor. And by the way, this
Yeah.
is where we came up with what, 100 billion that Trump did yesterday? They were in the White House.
Yeah, they're going to build here and continue to build.
Exactly.
It's interesting because Taiwan Semi just came under the 200 for the second day, but they hit the intermediate support level. I'll be watching this along with like
Ooh, the
Microsoft.
wind's picking up now.
Let's see if we get this
Yeah.
popped off and coming back up. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah. All right, guys, we are at 8:11.
Thank you.
And I appreciate you all jumping in on this.
Be
And
careful
we'll be doing,
be careful today.
yeah. We'll be doing this again
Always be
tomorrow
careful,
at
but
7:30.
extra careful.
Extra careful, right? Paul?
Yeah.
All right. All
Thanks,
right. Don't try
guys.
to catch any falling knives today.
No kidding.
Uh,
Yeah. Remember, you don't have to be in the market all the time if your risk profile isn't that way. You can stay out and eat popcorn with some like me. So,
All right,
Bye, guys.
guys. Yep.
Thanks,
guys and
everyone.
gals,
Appreciate
take
it.
care.
all right.
Bye.
Take care.
Good night,
See
Bye-bye.
y'all later.